Okay. So first order of business, we have our seed saving workshop details finalized. We will be having our seed saving workshop Saturday, September 28th, with Chris Smith from the Utopian Seed Project. It will take place at the Jonesboro Farm Bureau, and we will be having two different sessions. So the first session is going to run 12:30 to 2:30, and then the second session will run 3 to 5. Build It Up gardeners will get a free ticket. I do ask that you don't bring kids. It's not really kid friendly. We're paying a speaker to come in, so we want to minimize distractions as much as possible. But yeah, we do have a free ticket for Build It Up families to attend the home gardener session, which will run 12:30 to 2:30. And then the producer will have a more farm focused producer session that will run 3 to 5. You are welcome to attend both if both sound interesting to you. There will be a $15 fee attached to the producer session. So if you're coming to both, then just keep that aware. We also are always encouraging donations. So if you feel it in your heart that you would like to donate in place of your free ticket, that would also be wonderful. Send an email out. I will send an email out with all the registration info. Is this basically how it's going to be?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Start, yeah.
Okay. So these are the sessions. So, like I said, 12:30 to 2:30. We are going to be doing home gardening. It's saving seeds for home gardeners, how and why to save seeds. You can read the description. I'm probably not going to, but we will have some hands-on aspects of the session. So I believe Chris and I talked about maybe doing some demonstration in terms of like cutting open a tomato and talking through how to save seeds from a tomato. So he will go through the basics though, how and why to save seeds. And then the farmers and producers session is going to be more focused towards farmers and producers. It's regional seeds for regional production, and that'll be 3 to 5. So he's going to go through like markets and regional seeds in the Southeast, things like that. It'll be a little bit more technical, but he will also be bringing along some seed processing equipment to show us. They actually have like a seed processing trailer or something attachment to the truck that he uses, but that's going to be at another conference. So, but he's going to bring along some like show and tell stuff. So it should be really interesting. I will send out the information for that in the follow-up email or a separate follow-up email thing. So, but yeah, put that on your calendar. And I want to make sure that Build It Up gardeners get first dibs. So please register by September 16th for that. That's next Monday. I'm doing that because we're opening it up to the public. And so then after that, whatever tickets have not been claimed will be opened up to the public. So make sure you get your registration in by September 16th. We have been talking about this for a long time, but we will be having market gardening workshops this year. Woo! So we tossed around a lot of ideas, and based off of ARCD staff capacity and things, we've decided to do a series of workshops that is not going to be exclusive. It's going to be open to the public, and they are going to be things that you can drop in on or take all of them. So they're going to be once a month from November to March, and it's going to be all about how to scale up your garden to produce enough to sell at a farmer's market. That is the purpose of the market gardening program. So topics that we'll cover, we'll start with succession planning. We'll go over crop and rotation planning, garden planning, setting up a succession planning guide. And then we'll go over seed starting, everything you need for seed starting. We'll also share a lot of our seed resources, where we source things like that. Then we'll go over creating your brand and marketing your product. So that'll include a backstory for your market garden, how to set up at farmers markets, how to create like a appealing booth at a farmer's market that might draw in the consumer. And then we'll cover market channels. So where you want to sell, farmer's market, whether you want to try and do a market from your house on your property, a home market, that kind of thing, as well as pricing your product competitively. And then we will do a skill building field day. So this will take place at a farm where we will actually go over hands-on setting up irrigation, setting up low tunnels, setting up trellising, all the things that might make your market garden more successful if you have them, utilizing vertical space, things like that. And then our last session will be focused on packaging your product for market as well as food safety. So we don't have all the information yet, but I will send out an email about this program to everybody along with registration and things. Like I said, you can drop into classes or you can purchase all 6 classes. There will be some type of fee attached to it. We're not quite sure what yet, but that will come once we make those decisions. So, but yeah, I will send out an email about that and maybe potentially like an interest form just to see who all is interested. Some other housekeeping things. We have our end of year potluck. That'll be Monday, October 7th from 6 to 7:30 here at the Memorial Park Community Center. It'll actually be in the dining room, which for those that are in person, that's where we are right now. Last minute change. So that's what we'll be. And we will have a potluck. So bring a dish to share with everybody. We will award our superlative/awards. So I sent out a little form last session, but I'll send it out again. So submit your like cool vegetables and your biggest harvest totals and all your cool stuff so we can like create awards from those. And you'll get a little like styrofoam tomato sprayed gold. We go all out in here. Yeah, exactly. A gold apple. Yeah, that's a good idea too. We will also have your garlic for you to pick up at that potluck. So another incentive to come to the potluck and eat a bunch of wonderful food. And then I kind of wanted to open it up to ideas. We had some feedback last year that it would be cool to do a seed swap at the end of your potluck where people could bring their like extra seeds or their seeds that they gathered or something like that. Is there interest in doing that? Yeah, seed swap. Okay. Any other ideas? Unusual plants. Unusual plants. Yeah. Yeah, like plant cuttings, something like that. Yeah. Okay. So we'll work into maybe doing like a seed swap and seed and plant swap. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and Build It Up actually has some extra seeds too that, for second year graduates can come and grab some extra seeds for next year. Okay, harvest totals still due at the end of each month through November, even though this is our last quote unquote workshop. We will be gathering those through the end of October. So everyone was really great this month, got in their harvest totals, pat on the back, great job, thank you. So just keep on keeping on with those. Okay, and then I will also be sending out a end of program survey for everybody. This is going to be super helpful for us to improve future programs, as well as find out how to be more efficient, see what worked, see what didn't work. I've also added a section this year on crops varieties, so you can give feedback on how things worked for you, how they didn't work for you, what grew, what germinated, what didn't, all the things, so we can continually improve our program and the things that we're offering. So please fill that out for us. That's super, super helpful, especially for us to continue to get funding for this program. Sorry, there's a lot of housekeeping, guys. It's just a popular time of the year. We also launched our registration for our Winter Field School Business Intensive. So if you're not aware, this is another program that ARCD does that is specifically business training for beginning farmers. And it's a 8-class intensive that goes from November through March, similarly to the market gardening program. It takes place on the second and fourth Thursday of the month from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Jonesboro Farm Bureau. And it's really great if you're looking to start a farm business or you want to up your scale. It could even be really great to go with the market gardening program. So I will send that information up or send that information out in the follow-up as well. My coworker Rachel is running that program this year. And I will say, like, we go over everything from like visioning, resources, grant applications, record keeping, finances, how to file a Schedule F, like all the important things that you need to know when thinking about starting a farm. Okay, returning gardener application, I will send that out in November. That will be for first-year gardeners this year that are interested in joining for a second year. I will tell you now that if you haven't been turning in your harvest totals and we haven't gotten your blog post, that might be a ding on you. So get those things in so we can continue to consider you for a second year.
Just one blog?
Just one blog, yep. The one you signed up for. If you've got that in and you've been on top of your harvest totals, you're a shoe-in for the second year. If you haven't, get those things in. And then we will launch our new gardener application to the public in January. So if you have friends, if you have family members that you want to be in the program, if you have neighbors, people you know at church, whatever you want to spread the word to, tell them that our application will open in January. Okay, last but not least, potentially, I think, I don't know. I don't remember what slides I put in here. ARCD, which is the mother organization of this program, Appalachian RC&D Council, what I work for. We have our 30th anniversary this year, which is so exciting. And to celebrate, we are having a open house called Common Ground, November 16th from 4 to 7:30 at Johnson City Brewing in Boones Creek. It's completely free to come to. We are looking forward to hosting a bunch of community members and kind of teaching everybody about the wide amount of stuff that we do. We do this build up gardening program, but we also do like so much other stuff. So it's a great opportunity to come learn more about our work. And yeah, also donations are totally welcome. We will not deny donations either. So but it is free, so feel free to come by and hang out with us. I think, Bethany, there's going to be like more info on that, right?
There's going to be
yeah.
more.
So you'll get it.
Save the date.
Yes, this is like a save the date, November 16th thing. Okay. All right. Any questions on any of the housekeeping that I just went over? Okay, great. So, launching right into season extension, so we can hopefully stay on track. So season extension is really great for fall gardening. It is the way that we can kind of keep our plants alive past some of these hard frosts that start coming up. It helps extend our summer crop season so that maybe we can get a few more days out of them and get all of our tomatoes harvested. Or it's a great way to, help our fall plants along in the middle of winter when it gets down to be like really cold. So it involves using protection like row cover and mulch. So row cover is what we're handing out tonight. If you have it by your chair, you can notice like, we'll get into this later. Never mind. Going too far in depth right now. But yeah, so it's a really great addition to the garden to hopefully harvest more as the winter season continues. So season extension can help with freezing temperatures, strong winds, specifically helping your plants so they don't dry out as well as becoming really cold. They can help with frost heaving grounds and large temperature swings. So we'll go over all of these. So winters in East Tennessee. This is a fun topic because you kind of never know what you're going to get. Last winter, we had a pretty mild winter. We didn't have a lot of deep freezes. The winter before that, we had a deep freeze that got down below zero, and basically everybody's crops died. So, but we do, on average, tend to have like mild, wet falls with some light frost sprinkled in. But it can also be warm in December. We have literally had tomatoes grow until December before because we haven't gotten a frost. So, or a frost hard enough to kill them. We generally see cold in January, February. But on average, maybe like 1 to 2 major cold events throughout the winter. We don't get a ton of snow here. But we do tend to see these like wild temperature swings, right? Where it's like 70 one day and then it's like 40 the next day, especially in the fall and fall becoming winter. So row cover, what we're handing out today, also goes by Frost Cloth. It comes in a bunch of different thicknesses. So those thicknesses provide more or less frost protection. The higher the grade, the more protection. So the thicker it is, the more protection you're going to get. We specifically hand out the 1 ounce fabric. For East Tennessee, we find that this goes the best with our climate. What we hand out is, I think this year it's GrowGuard 34. We get it in like a massive rolls, which Bethany and I cut diligently last week. 5,000 feet. But who's counting? Oh man, we should have. But the rolls are like so long, it's like insane. Yeah, I don't think they would have fit. But it is, we love you all. So one of the great things about season extension is you can maybe keep your summer crops alive like a little bit longer. The 1 ounce fabric offers 2 to 4 degrees of frost protection. So, for example, if you get a light freeze down to like 30 degrees Fahrenheit, it won't actually kill your plants, hopefully. It'll give you that like 2 degrees of protection. So summer crops that would normally die at 32 degrees with a frost could maybe survive like a few more days. That's not to say that they're gonna survive like weeks, right? But hopefully it gives you enough time to like harvest everything and then you can kind of help yourself along. Yeah, we have kept peppers alive until December. But don't depend on that. Just kind of keep an eye on like the weather and where you see the frost dipping down to and stuff like that. For cold hardy crops, I want to emphasize that your cold hardy crops don't need to be covered right now or as we get into the frost season. They are cold hardy, meaning that they are okay for cold weather. So as we get into like fall, winter, as we start to see these like beginning temps drop, you're really more focused on covering your summer crops that might be dying off. And then as we get into a more deep winter, we will kind of start to see temperatures, that are a lot colder in January, February. And so you want to use your row cover to cover those if it's kind of in that 10 to 20 degree Fahrenheit range. As long as it doesn't go below 10 for too long of a time period, you should be good. You can also double up your row cover to add a little bit extra protection if you're worried about it getting like really cold for extended periods of time, and that can help as well. It doesn't prevent the plants from freezing, but it prevents them from freezing and drying out due to the wind. So it can actually dry up like as your plants freeze and then thaw and things, it can actually dry up like the water content in your plants, and that's what will kill the plants. But yeah, it's a good protective barrier, and it just keeps everything a little bit warmer. Jacqueline, how many, you said you were talking, Jacqueline was talking to me earlier about doubling up. Have you doubled, tripled? What's
I doubled and I've tripled and
okay?
I've done carrots all winter through spring. And I had celery all winter through spring. So I'm sold.
Great.
Yeah.
So for those on Zoom, Jacqueline was saying that she has doubled up and she had carrots all through spring and she's even tripled up and had good luck with that too. So that can be another option.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You see, what part about the plants are you putting this 3 layers of cover? Okay, I have some hoops that are like 2 feet.
Yeah.
And then I have a few hoops that are 4 feet. Okay.
So we'll actually talk about that here in a second. Yeah, yeah. We'll talk about building low tunnels. You guys have actually already received the hoops. The ones that we handed out with the Protect Net will go with this row cover. We'll talk about that in a sec. So another thing to consider, this is specifically, so the row cover we hand out is fabric, so it's not as much a concern with this, but if you are growing in plastic, if you're growing in a greenhouse over the winter, or if you're using like a cold frame, or you have a low tunnel with plastic, you could actually fry your plants in the middle of winter. It could be 20 degrees out and 90 degrees inside your like low tunnel with plastic. So you want to make sure that you're venting. If you're growing anything in plastic over the winter, just make sure that you're venting the sides to make sure that like air is coming in and it's not getting to be 90 degrees inside. Like I said, our row cover is fabric, so it's breathable, it lets that in, but if you're using plastic, that can be a problem. It's also good to heavily mulch. So I mean, you've heard me say it all season long, mulch, mulch, mulch. Don't leave soil bare. During the summer and spring and fall, it's because we don't want weeds to grow. But also during the winter, it can it keeps the ground from heaving under heavy frost. So generally what happens is your ground is freezing and expanding and then unfreezing, and it can actually like disrupt the root system when it's expanding with these like frosts. So if you put mulch around, you can kind of prevent that. It'll help keep the soil a little more evenly keeled. And hopefully, I can't guarantee that it will prevent this, but hopefully help with that. But it'll even out the temperature. So um, okay, so we kind of just covered this, but this is just an option. Some people do like to use plastic instead of fabric for their row cover. So I just wanted to cover this really quick. If you do use plastic, you want to make sure that it's a UV resistant greenhouse grade plastic. You really can't skimp on this. Like it will degrade if you're not using that level of or that quality. 6 mil is good. Should last you about 2 to 3 years with care. But like we just talked about, plastic traps a lot of heat. So you want to make sure that you are venting the sides if you're using plastic row cover. Or removing it altogether can help. You also will not have a way for the water to penetrate. So you want to make sure that you're installing drip irrigation with a plastic setup. Or, I mean, this is not efficient at all, but I guess you could uncover it and water it and then cover back up. But like, I can't imagine doing that. That sounds truly awful. Fabric, if you can't tell, is kind of our favorite. I feel like all the plastic stuff is like, it's fine. But fabric is more permeable to water. So as long as it rains regularly, you don't have to worry about irrigation. It traps less heat. Airflow is great. It's also cheaper, which is great. We have a lot of row cover, so I think I did want to add if you feel like you want more row cover, we will probably have extra. So let me know on that. Um, yeah, you can easily double up fabric like we were talking about for really cold nights. And it lasts about 3 to 4 years with good care. So I think overall, fabric is the better choice, in my opinion. Okay, hoops. So we handed out hoops earlier in May, April, May, something like that. Spring, yeah. So when we handed out ProtectNet, we also handed out these galvanized hoops with the ProtectNet for you to use. These are the same hoops that you would use with the row cover. Um, we, I think, I can't remember. I can't remember the exact specs on the galvanized hoops, but if you're interested in purchasing them yourself, just contact me and let me know, and I can probably get you the specs on that. But these are great for short crops like lettuce and spinach, root veggies, baby greens. They can also work for some of your brassica, but like I've noted here, you want to make sure that the plant doesn't grow too big. Like, like it might be too big for the actual size of the low tunnels. So if you're wanting to put those things under low tunnels, just kind of keep an eye on them, see how it's going. And then also you may just find that building your own might be a better like size for your garden. So, but the row cover we give out will fit these wire hoops. So it's 7 feet wide cloth. And so it should fit on either side. And I'll show you pictures of how you can do this in a good way. I don't think we don't really deal with a lot of heavy snow, but if for some reason we got a bunch of snow, they can bend under heavy snow conditions. So just kind of be aware of that. So these are some other options for hoops. You can use rebar and 1/2 inch PVC pipe, and then just kind of put the rebar into the ground and then bend the PVC pipe over top. And then cover that with the row cover, and it works just the same. It's pretty economical, pretty inexpensive to buy. It is more flexible than the wire, but it does pretty well in snow, so it's pretty okay. Yeah, and then also you would need clamps to keep your row cover onto the PVC pipe because it's very slippery. And it's also more expensive from what we've found. Maybe it would not be. I don't know. The other thing is these sturdy hoops can be made from 1/2 inch EMT conduit. But it's also like super expensive to do it this way. But if you did do that, you would need to probably bend the conduit that you're buying. And sometimes extension offices will have a hoop bender that you can actually use. So I would recommend contacting your extension office and seeing if they have a hoop bender. I think Air CD used to have one, but like we haven't been able to find it in like a few years. So I think it just disappeared. But you'll also, for these custom hoops, you'd probably have to buy a wider width row cover. But we get our row cover from Deerfield, but I think you can purchase it from Johnny Seeds. Deerfield is like this little Amish company in Kentucky, and they like don't have anything online, and you have to order it. Yeah.
If folks want like a 4 foot tall tunnel and don't want to go through that, you can use a 10 foot piece of PVC, 1/2 inch PVC pipe with rebar, and that's what I do my 4.
Yeah, Jacqueline was saying that she does her 4 foot tunnels with PVC and doing it just the 10 feet long? Yeah, 10 foot long. Yeah, 10 foot 1/2 inch PVC.
On rebar.
Yeah, yeah. So that could on rebar, yeah. So that could be an option as well. Okay. So constructing low tunnels, we will actually, I don't remember if we have a video on this. We might have a video. If we do, I'll send it. But you'll want to kind of set the hoops 4 feet apart. This tends to be the best so that you can still get a tight pull on your row cover without it kind of sagging in the middle. And then you'll want to cut the cloth so it has 6 to 10 feet extra at both ends. And this is so that you can pull it tight on either end and then damp it down. So there's a couple pictures of the next slide. I'll show you. Feet. Yeah. Yeah. you need enough that it's able to come from all sides of the hoop and get to the ground, right? And then to pull it tight, I'll show you here. Hold on. It's very hard to describe this without visuals, I will say. But the tighter that you can pull, the more resistant to snow damage it is. That being said, we don't have a ton of snow, so just be aware of that. You can also look at YouTube videos online. I find those are to be very helpful for me. So this is some examples of this one down in this right corner is the visualization I had when I was creating this. So that's a very like tight pull you can see. And they've just basically tightened it together and then pulled it and then like staked it down. You can also use sandbags or bricks, which is good because then they're not putting holes in your row cover. It's the row cover, when you actually explore the fabric, it's pretty light. So like if you do create a hole in it, it could get bigger. So you do want to kind of be careful about that. That being said, you don't absolutely have to make it as tight as possible if you're comfortable with it just kind of going down on the sides, as long as you're keeping it covered and keeping it, you know, from sagging in the middle. These are some other examples. I think using bricks or sandbags are more convenient than using clamps because one, you know, you're not producing holes, but also if you need to like uncover something, it's easy to just kind of remove a brick or a sandbag and pull it over versus removing all these like individual little clips. That being said, you can still use clamps. I think those work better for plastic and then on PVC as well. So you can also experiment and see what works best for you because there's lots of ways to do it. Briefly, there are some cost share programs if you're interested specifically in like upping your operation a bit to be a market garden, or if you just want some bigger options for season extension. NRCS has a cost share program where they'll pay 90% of the cost of a caterpillar tunnel or a high tunnel. And you just have to be like a beginning farmer, which is less than 10 years of filing Schedule F tax form. So I'm gonna assume that everybody falls under that. You only need a farm number to apply for this funding, and they will actually fund projects on as little as 1/8 acre. So there's not a lot of land requirement for these things. I would recommend calling your local NRCS office if you're interested. I think there's an area office in Jonesboro and there's an area office in Blountville. And I think that might be, I don't know, I'd have to double check. But they often cover multiple counties. So NRCS, and that stands for Natural Resources Conservation Service. It's a USDA funded agency, and they actually do a lot of really cool work. If you have any type of like land, so many things, but it's focused on conservation. So they will do a lot of like, no, it's more land based. So if you have like water issues on your land, or you know,
they're coming to help me, or could come to help me like correct a creek that's eroding a lot of stuff. So like they will,
right.
They'll plant like native species that help control stuff.
Yeah, they'll do like invasive species correction. You can have them out to your land. You can actually call them. They'll come out for free and they'll do a conservation plan of your land for free. And also let you know of like funding opportunities that could be. So they do a cover crop program where they like pay for your cover crop and you just have to implement it. They do a pollinator strip program where, you know, they just need to see a need on your property. So like if you have them come out to your property, you can be like, wow, I really want to like diversify my pollinator species on my property. And they'll be like, we have funding for that. And you're like, great. But they do have to like be solving a problem on your land. So but yeah, they would be able to tell you way more than I, but they are a great organization or agency to work with. And just briefly, so high tunnels, which are in this picture, that is considered a permanent structure. Even though when they were built, they were kind of built with the idea that you could technically move them, but they are considered a permanent structure because you have to like concrete the pole things into the ground. Technical terms, obviously. And they also are big enough that you could technically drive a tractor through. So that was the idea. They generally have like pointy tops. Caterpillar tunnels are like this in this picture. They are kind of like a half circle. They're considered non-permanent structures. So if you have like a city ordinance that prevents you from having a high tunnel, you could technically have a Caterpillar tunnel. They're also covered by NRCS. I think 90% cost share, though I'm not totally sure. They're a little less sturdy than high tunnels, but they're cheaper to build, and they can be moved around easier. And they'll cover about 3 to 4 rows of crop. So if you're looking to intensify your season extension, they're a great way to do that. They also, a lot of flower farmers use them now too to extend their flower season. So if you're interested in growing flowers, that could be an interesting thing too. And you can combine them with low tunnels for even more protection. So lots of opportunities out there for season extension. Questions on season extension so far? Sorry?
Or like the day before when it's 20 degrees one day and 70 degrees the next day.
Yeah, I mean, I would make sure that you can like kind of insulate your hose a little bit and hope for that. I don't really water during the winter, so I don't know. Maybe other people do. Do other people have ideas on that? Yeah. Yeah. So I don't really water plants during the winter. Consensus on that seems to be from the room that folks don't water. Maybe if it's 70 degrees, but yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
The cover over the grass does it mean pollinators?
Sorry, what was the question? What?
Grass.
Nope, sure don't. Nope. You just need you need to uncover things with fruit, but like with flowers that then produce fruit, but yeah, I don't think anything that we handed out needs that. So for fall. Just checking the okay. To answer Lee's question online, is the market gardening program taking place at Winterfield School? No, that is not. They will go hand in hand. They'll be functioning at the same time. And is the funding only available for farmers? So, yeah, no, and yes. You just have to have a farm number, which is not hard to establish. But yeah, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, your farm business, in order to operate, you have to file a Schedule F. So if you're not doing that, you can still qualify for NRCS funding. You just have to have a farm number, and you can do that at the NRCS, at the FSA office, which is next to the NRCS office. Any questions? Any more questions before we move on to the next subject? Great. What county are you, Carter? That'll be in Blountville. The Carter County office is in Blountville. I think that covers Carter, Sullivan, and maybe Unicoi too. Or maybe Unicoi is with Washington. I don't know, but you can Google it. NRCS office and then by county. So I'm pretty sure yours is Blountville. But yeah, and they're super nice over there, really willing to help. And they also have like a ton of funding right now. So yeah, highly recommend. Huh? All NRCS like across the state of Tennessee has an insane amount of funding. Yeah. So they need to spend it. And I don't know what their application cycles look like right now. I don't know when they open or close, but that's something you could find out from your NRCS office.
So we don't have like green.
You do. It's a green county. Every county has one. It just, I don't know what the groupings are, but I think green has its own, maybe NRCS. Yeah, you do.
Then building geodesic domes in Tennessee. They were very popular in Colorado and they're amazing.
Building what?
Geodesic domes.
Oh, I haven't seen much of them here. No. They are amazing though. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Moving onward. Okay, garlic. This should be everybody's favorite crop. I don't care if you don't, I mean, if you don't like garlic, I don't know if we can be friends, but no, I'm kidding. No, but this is like the easiest crop to grow. It is so easy and it produces a ton. So, like I said, we will hand out garlic at the October 7th potluck. So I will send out an order form sometime in mid-September. Um, there's only like, I think we ordered like 30 pounds. So, we'll have to like divvy it up among everybody. So we'll try and get you as much as possible, but I don't know exactly what that will equate to. The variety that we are handing out this year is called German Extra Hardy. It's a hardneck variety. We grew it last year and it did really well. So we are growing it again this year. But we've also provided German Red, which is a good variety, and Music. A lot of people really like Music. It's a porcelain garlic, so it's got the white. It's white cloves and white on the outside. The German Red is white cloves, but it's like red wrapping. And the German Extra Hardy is also red. Is it red? White? White. But that was last year. I don't remember what it is, but okay, white. Okay. But yeah, we really like all three of those varieties. We source ours from Fedco. So we normally order online in early June. That's when you have to order it in bulk. It's all organic and we've never had any problems with it. So I do recommend if you want to order your own garlic, ordering from Fedco. They're really great. So we specifically hand out hardneck garlic. But there are two main types of garlic, hardneck and softneck. So hardneck, you can generally distinguish hardneck by their bigger cloves. They also have like a little scape you can see here, a scape that grows in the middle, whereas softneck does not have a scape, so it's just kind of all bunched together. I prefer the bigger cloves because I get really frustrated when I have to peel all the little tiny cloves. I'm just like, this sucks. So I really like the bigger cloves. There's tend to be like 4 to 6 per head, which is really great. And also like if you're putting a lot of garlic in your meals like me, it's like fine to have a massive clove. The smaller cloves tend to be like 8 to 10 per head, so it's a lot smaller. The storage is different. Softneck tends to store a bit better than hardneck garlic. Their storage is more like 6 to 8 months. I've even heard up to a year, whereas hardneck is more around 6-ish months. However, you can do things that are gonna you can dehydrate your garlic or you can freeze it to like extend it past that. That's just literally how long it stores in its like bulb, in my opinion, hardneck garlic has a little bit better flavor. It's a little stronger, but it really just kind of depends on the variety. And then softneck doesn't have a scape, which makes it easier to braid. So when you see a lot of like braided garlic, that's generally softneck garlic that's been dried out and then braided. You can braid hardneck garlic, but it's generally better to just kind of cut the stem closer to the head and store it that way. Or like you can see in the picture, you can like actually tie it in bunches and store it and it just stays like straight. It's a very hard neck. So yeah, this is like porcelain. I actually don't know how to pronounce that. I've only ever read it. I don't even know if I want to try rocambole. I don't know. Um, it's, when you like read stuff and you're like, I have no idea how to say that out loud. And then the soft neck. So about 1/2 pound of seed garlic will produce about 2 to 3 pounds at harvest. So that's about what we found. It can be planted from October to early December. We generally recommend it being planted in October. That gives it the longest time to grow, to get real big. It's so easy to grow. I want to just like reinforce that. And then we buy certified disease-free seed garlic. So this guarantees that, it's not going to like become diseased and infect your entire crop. You can use saved garlic, but it may carry diseases. So we just like can't guarantee that the saved garlic that you're replanting is going to do well. But I know several people that do that and it's done well. So feel free to experiment. So your garlic comes in heads, like you would buy at the grocery store, but you will need to break them apart into individual cloves to plant them. So don't peel them, leave the papery substance on. That's what protects them from becoming rotted or diseased. And you want to just make sure you're inspecting your garlic cloves, make sure there's not any brown spots, any like squishy spots. If there are, just throw those out. They're not gonna produce a good garlic. And then as you can see in this picture, you want to plant them with their little flat heads down and their little papery tops up so that they're pointing up towards the soil or up towards the sun. This step is, I don't really do this, but you can if you want to make sure that the crop that you're planting is like resistant against as much disease as possible. But it is optional. So generally, this is actually pretty accurate to how I plant. You can plant garlic 4 to 6 inches apart in rows that are 6 inches apart. So really you can plant them pretty close together. I will actually take out a tape measure like you see in this picture and go along and space it that way. So I know that I'm getting as much as possible into the space. But you can go through and poke holes down to 2 to 3 inches deep. That's about like a knuckle down. And just poke in with your finger and go along and do that. And then put your cloves in, pointy side up, flat side down, and then gently pat soil over the holes or with the flat side of a garden rake. So really super simple to plant. And you can also like, as I'm looking here, you can even put like, if you're wanting to alternate the rows, you can do them like this, or you can put one in the middle and put them a little bit further apart to squeeze more into that space. And then you want to mulch, so much mulch. They need at least 6 inches of straw, shredded leaves, or grass clippings on top of them. This is really going to help with as we go through the winter with kind of helping those soil temperatures regulate, but also it just is going to break down into organic matter, which is awesome. And you really just need to like keep it covered. You do not need to put row cover over it. That's what the mulch will do. But it'll help with like the frost heaving that we talked about earlier. So mulch, 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 and then forget about them. Like that's really all you have to do is plant them, mulch them, and they are good to go. Over the winter, they will just grow. They'll be great. In the spring, you'll want to just kind of keep them weeded, which again, if you have a thick layer of mulch, you're not going to have an issue with. Maybe there'll be a weed that crops up here and there, but like you should be golden. So because we're providing hardneck garlic, it will produce a scape, which is like a little flower bud in June, sometimes May, kind of depends. you'll want to cut these off. You can actually use them in pesto or stir fry or things like that. They're edible. They're super good. It's kind of like a green onion that tastes like garlic, which is, you know, just I heard the in the room was great. And it will actually help the bulb get bigger. So instead of, if you let it go too far, it'll start investing its energy into making the flower of the scape. But if you cut it off, then it'll reinvest into the bulb and your bulb will be bigger when you go to harvest it. So the scape will curl. So it'll come up straight out of the plant and then it'll curl. And that's when you cut it, when it's created a little curlicue. And then that's when the scape is the most tender to eat and stir fry and things like that. If you wait, if it comes up straight and then it curls and then it straightens again, you still want to cut it, but it may be too tough to eat at that point. It'll be like very chewy. You might still have good luck, I don't know, but just forewarning. And then after cutting the scape off, this is kind of a estimate, but you might want to look and check your garlic 10 to 14 days after is kind of the window generally that you can expect to harvest your garlic. You want to look for, there's little paper covering the leaves that come out of the stalk, like the bottom 2 to 3 should have died off. And that's when you know that your garlic is ready to be harvested. You want a couple to have died off because that's signaling that the plant is starting to die, but you don't want so many that all the paper covering that covers the garlic has started to die, because each leaf corresponds to a paper covering that goes over your head. So you want enough that it'll store well. So cured garlic usually lasts 5 to 6 months. So I have had garlic last, I think maybe hardneck garlic last up to 8-ish months, maybe close to 10 actually. But again, yeah, keep an eye on it. Also, you really want to use it. Like, you know, you don't want it to just sit in your kitchen and rot, but that is the shelf life generally.
Rosie on garlic, if you don't mind. So we shouldn't expect to see any growth over the winter. Nothing green.
It'll grow over the winter. Yeah, it'll pop up. I don't know when exactly. It takes a little bit.
There will be, but it won't harvest till June.
You won't harvest till June.
About an 8-month.
Yeah, it's a long growing window. Yeah. So that's another good point too. And I'll get to your question. Another good point is that you want to make sure you're planting it in a bed where you won't need the bed until June. So yeah, think about like your spring crops and things like that. So because you will need it. A way I've done it before is I've planted garlic and then harvested it and planted sweet potatoes afterwards. But what was your question? No, it's not necessary. No. What was, oh, elephant garlic should get pretty big. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that could be a soil issue, soil nutrient issue. I would do a soil test again in the fall and maybe even the spring and just see what you might need. It could be an imbalance there. Yeah.
To her point though, would you fertilize like you were putting in normal seedlings, like you said 1 to 2 tablespoons when you spring?
I don't normally know. Okay. I don't normally fertilize, but you can. It's not going to hurt it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So sweet potatoes, their harvest is coming up soon. This is a picture of Lexi, my coworker, with a massive sweet potato that she harvested out of her garden. What just happened? It did just change, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why that is. Well, whatever. We're nearing the end. Should be fine. Yeah, I don't think this projector is the best, but Okay. So September is a good time to harvest your sweet potatoes. You want to harvest them before frost. They will keep growing until frost, but if it frosts without harvesting your sweet potatoes, they will spoil. So you definitely want to get them out of the ground before the frost. What was that?
Before the gophers eat them all too?
Also before the gophers or the voles eat them. We've had issues with voles eating them. Yes.
That's what I know.
Yeah. So you gotta plan your happy little window of harvesting. We found like mid to late September generally is a good time to kind of give them the longest life possible, but without making a feast for all the creatures as well as getting too close to frost. You are going to get a bunch of different shapes and sizes of sweet potatoes. So don't expect just like those uniform tubers that you see at the grocery store. You'll get some that are that size, some that are a honker like you see in that photo. That might be, I think we had a gardener last year that harvested a sweet potato that was the size of their child's head. So like huge sweet potato. And then you'll get some puny ones too, but like they're all edible, all good. You can eat all of them. So, you know, they might be weirdly shaped, but they'll still taste good.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If they come to the surface, like one of the gophers pulled to the surface, I noticed it got green, just like a regular potato. That's that toxic stuff that you eat, right?
Yeah, I would not eat that. No. Yeah. You could cut it off, and like eat the rest of it or something, but yeah, I would not eat the green. Yeah, if it's green above ground, you don't want to eat it. Um, a good way. Sorry. So it's been exposed to sun and it releases this toxin, which I don't remember what it's called, but does anyone else remember?
Is it like selenium or something?
It's yeah, but basically it makes the green part toxic and it can just give you like an upset stomach. So
Row cover.
oh, and give him a row cover.
Sir.
Kevin. Sorry, we're trying to give people row cover. Okay, yeah. So
Sorry.
you're good. Okay, got everybody situated with the row cover. Okay, so a good way to harvest sweet potatoes is to use a garden fork because it's like not super sharp, but you can kind of like get around the tubers. And you'll want to start about a foot from the base of the plant where you originally planted the sweet potato, which I know for some folks might be kind of hard because they've vined out so much. And so it might be kind of hard to find that like central point, but try and find that. Because that's where like the most amount of your sweet potatoes are going to be. Are you gonna what? Probably. That's the fun of it though, right? I don't know. I love harvesting sweet potatoes and potatoes. I'm like, ooh, look, a potato.
Finding a treasure.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like a kid. I'm like treasure hunting in my soil. Yeah. But yeah, you want to make sure that you're, getting as much as possible, leveraging it up, but without spearing the sweet potato. You do spear a sweet potato, you're going to want to eat that pretty soon because it's not going to store well. Most of the tubers will be at that central location where you planted it. However, sometimes if the sweet potato was rooted early enough in the season, the first couple roots, like it sends out the searchers and it'll root into the soil. And sometimes there'll be tubers there as well. So just kind of look as you're pulling up the vines to see if there's tubers attached to the vines as well. Also, sweet potato leaves are edible. So if you are interested in trying some sweet potato leaves, they're really good. They're kind of akin to like a spinach, maybe a little bit, with a little bit different flavor, a little bit more fibrous maybe, but they're really good. I found in stir fries. I really like that. And Edith, you've been cooking them up, right? What have you found?
So stir fries with garlic and then add soy sauce and sesame oil.
Yeah. So stir fry the leaves with garlic and then add sesame oil and soy sauce is what Edith was talking about. She's found to be really, really good. So, oh yeah, you can eat them raw. Yeah. Yeah, they can be put in salads. I would probably not eat the yellow ones. Yeah. I don't think those would be very good. Okay. Yeah, the healthy green ones, I mean, use your best judgment. Like sometimes there's some insect damage. If it's not too bad, I'll eat it. But if it is looking pretty rough, I would, probably not.
Searching for fruit and vegetables with insects. We're buying only insect damaged vegetables.
Oh no. Yeah, that is rough. Okay, just checking. Okay. Great. So let's see. Okay, and then sweet potatoes do best if they're cured to their optimal sweetness. They'll still be okay if you don't fully cure them. They'll just might not be quite as sweet. So in order I can't stop laughing. I will share this story with you guys after I get through this. So you want to cure in a dark location at 85 degrees Fahrenheit with 85% humidity for 5 to 7 days, ideally. So it's so hot, I know. A basement bathroom could be good where you put a humidifier in there or humidifier, not dehumidifier, in there. And then, if it's heated more, we had a gardener last year where I was doing this presentation and he was like, I put mine in a moist tub in the attic. And then someone else on the chat was like, can you define a moist tub for me? And I was just like, I'm just dying. I don't know. It was so funny. And they got like a superlative at the end of the year for like best comment on the Zoom. I have like a screenshot of it like on my computer that I just open every now and then and just read. What is a moist tub in the attic? I don't know. But yeah, like you can right, like I don't know. Like, what is a moist tub in the attic? I don't even remember do you remember what his answer was? I was like, so, moist tub in the attic, that could work too.
He said in the
attic, yeah. I was like, I don't know. But yes, so
like a coat or something like that.
I think so. I think not a bathtub.
Oh, now I got it.
Yeah. I think a bathtub in the attic would be challenging. Anyways, having too much fun over here. Okay. But yeah, I mean, and you can get it as close to that as possible. Like you might not be able to get it with your house situation, but yeah. Again. Yeah. And then after curing, optimal storage conditions are 60 degrees Fahrenheit with 85% humidity. Yes. Yes. Moist tub in the basement. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. But I've actually found that this is optimal, right? Like this might be more towards like if you have a commercial operation, you can do that kind of stuff. If you have a storage room that you can change the humidity and change the thermostat to and all that stuff. If you don't have that, I have honestly found that I can just store them in my dining room in like a tub with cardboard over it. So, they're pretty hardy. It's probably fine. Yeah. Okay, great. Great. So Edith said that for the folks. Okay. Yeah. Edith said she put them in paper bags in the basement and they lasted until, or in the garage, sorry, And they last until May. So, they will pay for cold storage and is that NRCS or is that TAEP?
NRCS, but
I think that I don't know if NRCS will do that, but we actually Appalachian RC&D Council is a part of a network of partner organizations within Appalachia that is going to be launching tomorrow Business Builder Sub Awards for farm and food businesses for things like cold storage. So it's money for farm and food businesses for that purpose. I don't know. What was that? I don't think so. It's more like a room that you would use to like cool down, like with a cool bot or like a refrigerated room or storage truck or something like that for produce to be stored to go to market or something like that. Yeah.
There's all these programs, like even the one we're in, I don't even know who they're funded by. Some are probably privately funded, some are government funded. What kind of stipulations do they put on like government funded programs? And like, I know, for instance, like if I get waters to my sheep so that you keep them out of the creek, you have to do that for 2 years or something.
I think it depends on the program and depends on the agency. I don't know specifically, like a lot of different agencies have different things. A lot of them are reimbursement based. So you're funding it up front and then you get reimbursement. Like NRCS is that way. So if you get funded for one of these NRCS programs, then you pay for it yourself and then you're reimbursed the like 90% cost or whatever. But again, that's something I would talk with the agency that you're getting funded from.
What is it funded by?
This Build It Up. Build It Up is funded by a private foundation out of Berea College. Grow Appalachia is what it's called. And they're funded by, the original funding actually came from the guy who owns Patron Tequila and Paul Mitchell Hair Products. Yeah, but they've now diversified funding. So it's from a bunch of private donors that believe in this type of work and this mission. So yeah, it is really cool. Okay, getting back on topic. So yeah, another thing, don't wait to eat your storage crops, just eat them as you would normally. And I would say like they probably start to go downhill after January, February, with some exceptions, but don't just try and like package them away because they will not last forever. You want to eat them. So. Okay, any questions so far?
So is there any obvious signs or sweet potatoes tell you they're ready, or you just want to go for it in September?
Yeah, they don't really, they're not like potatoes where like the plants start dying off. But yeah, if you see any critter damage in your garden, I would go in and harvest. If you're seeing like vole hills, anything like that, you might go and dig and check and see if they've been damaged. Weather forecast, you want to check and make sure that frosts aren't coming. I don't think we have any close by, but yeah, just making sure you're getting them out of the ground before frost. That's really the main thing. Yeah.
I heard much about
corn. Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden my corn's just like ready, and some are overripe and some are not.
So corn, depending on the variety that you're growing, we had some trial crops this year, which I'm not sure, they tended to be kind of short, but generally they'll grow, like sweet corn will grow fairly tall, 6 to 7 feet. And the ear will actually tell you it's ready by like the tassel at the top will die off. So that all the like silkies coming out of the corn, if it's all died, if it's all dead, then that's kind of telling you that it's ready. And you also can kind of peel back the corn husks at the top and check and see if like it's all created kernels in there, and then you can harvest it
It's
from
all
there.
hormones and beetles all.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's so bad. Yeah, I would probably.
Crops you don't spend a lot of time on because it's always going to get eaten.
No, we just honestly, we don't have a lot of people that grow corn because a lot of our gardeners are growing on a smaller scale. But we do have some folks that grow at a bigger scale. And I think my advice specifically for corn is like just growing a lot of corn,
right,
to overtake the amount of like pest stuff that's going to happen. Because you can plant it pretty close together. And you can really pack it in there. And, one stalk is maybe going to give you like 2 or 3 cobs at the most. And so really getting it like.
ripen from the bottom cob to the top, like the bottom gets ripened first, or is it?
I think so. I don't know. Yeah.
Anyways,
but popcorn's different. So sweet corn, you want to harvest that. Popcorn, you want to let it dry completely on the stalk, and then you can harvest it after that.
Which the cornworms would have eaten it all anyway had I done the other one.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. My corn, like the minute it was ready, like the little hairs start to get, a clump of like brown, matted hairs. And I picked 95% of it, and there were a few that I didn't think were ready. And within like 4 days later, when I went to pick them, they were full of worms. So I feel like that very short window between ripe and worm.
Yeah. And you want to kind of check, right? Like you don't want to disturb the plant too much, but you can kind of peel back and check and see if it's looking healthy.
Last night I just went through the cornfield and
take it all out. Yeah.
Some of them were not right.
The cornworms are the worst. Yeah.
Oh, and maggots too. Let's put maggots in there. Like a fly is laying eggs in my corn.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like, you want to get that out of your garden. It's just probably attracting more at this point. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah.
But I've not heard anything about corn, so I was wondering.
Yeah.
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 And kept it in the house and just put it back in the
Edith? Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. Edith was saying for the folks on Zoom that once you're not in the program and you don't have access to our wonderful sweet potato slips, a good way to propagate that is you can go to the grocery store, buy sweet potatoes, and kind of bury them halfway in soil, and they'll create slips. Yeah, you can get organic sweet potatoes, and they'll produce slips off of that. So yeah, they're honestly, sweet potato slips are super easy to grow. So definitely do that if you're interested in growing your own. Yeah, they grow directly out of the sweet potato, and then you actually like harvest it off, and then you can kind of put it in water until you're ready to plant it. Yeah.
If they don't have a root, you put them in water.
Yeah. Put them in water. Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. So, since we're kind of at the end of our like education sessions, barring the seed saving workshop, we want to go over some like fall chores to get your garden ready to be ready to garden next spring, to overwinter, all the things. So you want to make sure that you're cleaning out any dead or dying crops this month. So anything that's just over, anything that's attracting bugs, that's just like completely eaten, get those out of your garden. Weed thoroughly. And then you want to sow cover crops. So we're handing out the cover crop mix tonight. We went over that a little bit last session. We went over about all the cover crops you're going to be receiving. There's also within your bags, there's a little handout that has everything that's in your cover crop mix, and then how to plant and when to terminate them in the spring, all this information. But you generally, if you have spaces that you know you're not going to be using in the fall, for fall gardening, plant cover crop in those spaces now, because the best time for it to germinate is in September, specifically for like the winter pea and the crimson clover. The rye can germinate into December, but the other ones are best to be in the ground by September. So daikon radish, yeah. Yep, that's in the mix as well. So it's daikon radish, crimson clover, Austrian winter pea, and rye. If you're not going to be planting, if you don't want to plant cover crop in those spaces, you can also layer on 8 to 12 inches of mulch in the form of shredded leaves or grass clippings. Mainly, you don't want to leave that soil bare because even if there's things that are not growing over the winter, it will encourage weeds to pop up in the spring when it starts getting warm. So if you can cover it now, you won't have that problem in the spring. How to shred your leaves. Yeah, so leaf mulcher, that would be good. How much was it, did you say? 150 is what?
Works.
Works? Okay, for the folks on Zoom. Works leaf mulcher. Okay. You may also, I don't know if they have, but sometimes like rental places, like I know you can buy something like a wood chipper and rent it. Sorry, not buy, rent it, but I don't know if they would maybe have like a leaf mulcher you could rent as well. It might be something worth asking. I sometimes will just mow mine. So I'll just have like a big pile of leaves and then I just mow it into the little bucket thing that goes on the back and then I just put it on. But yeah. And then just to blow your minds a little bit more, common weeds like lamb's quarters and pigweed can produce 100,000 seeds per plant. And you do not want that in your garden. So make sure you're getting weeds out before they go to seed because that's could be what you're dealing with next year. And your future selves will thank you for getting it out of your garden now or covering it, killing it, any of those things. So try not to let your weeds go to seed. Yeah, clean up any plant material from your garden, especially nightshade, family crops. They sometimes will keep like the residue or from diseases and stuff in your soil. So at least cover and kill everything, but also you can like pull it out. You'll want to, any diseased plants or anything, you want to trash. You don't want to compost. You can burn them too, but you definitely don't want that going back into your soil. Yeah, I think that if you're not regularly keeping track of your compost and making sure it's getting up to the heat that it needs to get up to, and you're turning it and all the things, it's really just breeding weed seeds and diseases. So I just be careful of that. Like I wouldn't put anything in your compost that you're planning to put in your garden if you're not doing those steps. So yeah, just kind of get rid of those. This is a great time to also clean and organize your garden tools. You are going to have a much better life of your garden tools. They won't get rusted, don't have plant residue on it. If you go ahead and go through and clean them all off and put them away for the winter if you're not going to be using them. Most will benefit from being sharpened and oiled. That could help as well. You can Google instructions on how to sharpen tools, as well as like good oils to use. But yeah, like some of the tools that we handed out are real, like the Wilcox trowel and the hose are really good quality tools. And we really believe in handing out good quality tools. So take care of them because they can last you a lifetime. And now you can also, if you're really feeling zesty and you want to get ready for next spring, you can review your garden plans and make notes and see, like, you know, what did well, what didn't do well, what you want to try. Every single year, I make a note to myself that I should plant my peas earlier, and I never do. But, you know, the note is there to remind me. So, you know, like, kind of reflect on the year. I also find I really love doing a little bit of journaling. Even if it's not like writing notes, but just like about your gardening year, what you did well, celebrate your successes. Like, you know, gardening is such a hard thing. I really encourage you all to like write some reflections about your time in the garden and like what you've done well, what you've learned, things like that. It's pretty cool to do. And last, I would say sign up for seed catalogs, because seed catalogs are what make the winter months so happy. I will say, like, some of the seed catalogs that we get, specifically Fedco, you should totally sign up for Fedco's seed catalog. The art is like so cool, and like it's just weird art, and I like it a lot. It's full of color and it's super fun. And some seed magazines that are seed catalogs, they'll work with like local artists to do their artwork on the covers and stuff, which is super fun. Some of the seed companies that we like are Fedco, Twilly, which is like Twilley. I thought it was Twiley for a long time, and then someone else pronounced it and they're like Twilly, and I was like, oh, I knew that. And then Johnny's is an online, most people know about that. Some of the local places, Southern Exposure Seed Exchange is great. Commonwealth Seeds, So True Seed, High Mowing Seeds. We did a lot of our trial crops from seedwise.com. You can get a bunch of regionally bred varieties from different growers around the Southeast. And those are all like organic, I think, or, you know, naturally grown at least. And you're also supporting like a local, semi-local regional business. So very cool. Okay, any questions on fall chores?
Pigweed and lamb's quarters.
Yes, that's true. You can eat pigweed and lamb's quarters. So yeah. Yeah, so everybody take yours over to Veronica, and she's I'm kidding. Yeah, and yeah, that's a great thing too, like taking classes too on edible plants that are growing in your yards, medicinal stuff. We do workshops throughout the year where we do different dives into some of these things, so keep an eye out for some of our other workshops. Yeah. Any questions online? Okay. What's the time? Oh, wow. Okay. We got like 3 minutes. Okay. So I'm just going to super briefly just cover the next couple. I have, this is just a super basic crop rotation plan. There are like a ton of ways that you can decide to rotate your crops, and it is a lot by personal preference. And I will link a resource in the follow-up email of an article that I really like that goes over a bunch of different ways that you can decide to rotate your crops. Some are by family, some are by nutrient benefits to your soil. Some, like, there's lots and lots of different ways. And if you Google crop rotation plans, you'll find them like 100 different ways. But this is like a really simple one where you're going leaf, legume, fruit, root, and you're just doing a clockwise rotation of those in your bed. So legume is going to include green beans, like any type of bean really, peas, lentils, things like that. And then that's going to, you're moving those to your used to be fruit beds. So tomatoes, summer squash, winter squash, cucurbits, peppers, things like that. Moving your fruit to what used to be your root beds. So carrots, onions, beets, radish, potatoes, sweet potatoes, parsnips, all of those. Then you're moving your root to what used to be your leaf beds, lettuce, arugula, all those things. Yeah. Yeah. There's not much more to say, honestly, on it. That's the basic crop rotation. And so that's just like one way that you can do it. I'll send this out, but it'll also be in the slides that I send out. But it's a really great article on the multiple types of crop rotation plans, and it really breaks down like the ways in which you're choosing to do things and the ways that it can improve your soil health and all the different ways that it can add to your soil. So, and also, create healthy plants for you in the future. But there's like, I don't even remember, but like quite a few different crop rotation plans. So I will send that out in the follow-up email as well. But okay. Yes, Kamal, I can send the names of the companies that we mentioned for seeds out to folks. Yep. Okay, we have reached the end of our presentation. Does anybody have any other questions? Great. Oh yes, sign in if you didn't sign in person, and if you didn't put your name in the chat, please do that online with how many adults and how many children are watching. All right, I will see you guys I guess seed saving workshop.